Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Badgersboro. In today's video, we're going to be recapping the incredible, legendary career of Drew Brees. Obviously, he announced his retirement this past week, saying that if he lost against the Buccaneers, it was going to be his last game, and he did. He did lose. He's yet to announce his retirement officially, but I believe it is pretty imminent, so I want to make this video here. If you guys enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It means a lot to me as I try to grow this channel. Also, comment down below your thoughts on Brees' career and, maybe where the Saints go next year. All right, I hope you guys enjoy this video. All right, when you think of the all-time great quarterbacks, you don't think of Drew Brees. You think of Brady. You think of Montana. Maybe even Manning, Elway, Steve Young. But you really need to be thinking about Drew Brees. In my humble opinion, Drew Brees is the fourth best quarterback of all time. I've got Peyton at 3, Montana at 2, obviously Brady at 1. But Drew Brees needs to be recognized. And the only reason he's not is because his lack of playoff success. We're not going to kid ourselves here. Drew Brees has not had the greatest defenses in his career. But time and time again, he's stepped up offensively and always given the Saints a position to win. Obviously, the all-time regular season passing yards leader, all-time regular season completions leader. Drew Brees had an incredible career, and his legacy is really hindered by his lack of postseason success. He only has one championship, but he won that Super Bowl, won that MVP against Peyton Manning and the Colts. Say what you want about Drew. His past few years have been iffy. The arm strength is obviously not there anymore. But, you can't help but recognize the greatness that Drew Brees was and is. And, it's really going to be a shame not having Drew on the field next year. Drew was, he was the pedestal for passing in this league. Drew Brees was pretty much always in the top 5 in passing yards, usually at the top. 7-time single season passing yards leader, 4-time passing touchdowns leader. Most notably the late 2000s, early 2010s. But you can't really say enough about Drew Brees as a player. Coming out of Purdue, they didn't like him in the draft. He was short. He really started to set this mantra forward of, hey, you can be a shorter quarterback in the NFL and you can succeed. The Chargers took a flyer on him. It didn't pan out. He spent a few years there, and then he signed with the Miami Dolphins. All right, in free agency, we all know Drew Brees, the great Miami Dolphin. But unfortunately, he did not pass his physical for a reason I'm not personally aware of, but he did not pass his physical in Miami. And then, some team down in Louisiana said, you know what, Drew, we'll give you a chance. And easily the best decision in franchise history. Bring in the greatest player in the franchise's history. The rest is history. Once Brees signed with the Saints, he basically signed his way into the all-time great conversation. No one's ever going to put Drew Brees at the top, at number 1, but he should be very close. I think that Drew Brees is maybe one of the most underappreciated quarterbacks ever. Obviously you can put Matt Stafford up there, but Drew Brees is one of the greats, and I hate to see him retire, but Drew, I can't say enough how good Drew Brees was and how much we need to appreciate him. Right? The Saints, I feel like I'm repeating myself here, but that's what Drew Brees was. Drew Brees was always that guy who was going to do the same thing. He was going to get yards, he was going to get touchdowns, he was going to keep you in ball games, and he was going to win you ball games. Obviously, with Brady, Montana, Manning, those are probably the top 3. Manning's maybe questionable, but definitely Brady, Montana. They always had great weapons and a great defense to help them. Brees was less fortunate with his defense. Some years he had good defenses, Some years he had extremely poor defenses. Brady and Montana, they didn't always have a great defense. Sometimes they were poor, but Drew Brees had more poor defenses than the two of them, maybe combined. I'm not really sure. But Drew Brees consistently came in and did his work. Like I said, most people know this. Drew Brees is the all-time regular season passing yards and completions leader. And while a lot of them were in the fourth quarter because they were losing and they had to come back, you can't take that away from Drew. Me personally, I am taking some of it away because I say regular season because I think that's important in the record. But that's not really taking anything away. Leave your thoughts down below on that take. But I include regular season because the wear and tear for playing extra games in the postseason should not go unnoticed in these records. Yes, there's a higher sample size. That's fine. But just then say he's the yards per game leader. That's fine. Go for it. Or just put regular season next to it. But we're getting off topic here. I've slandered Brees the last 2 years because of A, his lack of playoff success, and B, his lack of arm. But, that's the case for most aging quarterbacks. I said the same thing about Peyton. I'm probably going to have to say the same thing about Tom, at least with the arm strength. Definitely not the playoff success. But, ultimately for Drew, that is what people are going to remember him as. They're going to remember him as the guy who couldn't win the big games. And that's extremely unfortunate. These last 4 years, 4 straight heartbreaks for the Saints in the playoffs. Obviously, you have the no call on the pass interference from Nicole Roby-Coleman. That started it. Then you have the Minneapolis Miracle. Marcus Williams doesn't wrap up. I'm still not sure how Diggs was able to stretch that for a touchdown, but Vikings win that game. 2 years ago, Saints get the ball in overtime. Brees throws a pick. Saints steal another one in the Superdome. And then this year, they just get dominated by the Buccaneers defensively. And so it's very difficult. It's very difficult to say that Drew Brees is one of the greats just because he didn't have the postseason success. That's what most people look for. They look for rings and MVPs. And unfortunately, Drew Brees only has one of those combined. He never won an MVP. That might be one of the craziest things of Drew Brees' career. He never won an MVP. But he probably should have at least once. Definitely at least once. Probably more than once. He should have won an MVP. But Drew Brees is the poster child for elite quarterback play. I sound like a broken record here, but Drew Brees was just that consistent that you got to keep saying the same stuff about him. He's always going to get you yards, he's always going to get you touchdowns, and he's always going to keep you in a position to win the game. When you compare him to guys like Brady, Montana, and Manning, it's the same stuff, different day. They're all pretty similar in yards, touchdowns. Obviously, Brees has more yards, regular season all time. Brady has more touchdowns, regular season all time. But the real argument against Drew Brees being an elite quarterback is his lack of postseason success. A lot of times his defense hindered him from making the playoffs. But even in the years that they do make the playoffs, Brees doesn't do him too many favors. I mentioned the overtime pick 2 years ago, and this past year he was just done. It's extremely saddening that Drew Brees only got one Super Bowl in his career. It's extremely unfortunate that in today's world we look at championships first as grading a player's career. I'm guilty of it. As a Brady fan, I still think he's the GOAT without the championships. But unfortunately, Drew Brees only has one, so no one's really ever going to view him as a top elite quarterback with Brady, Montana, Manning. That's doing a great disservice to one of the all-time greats. I don't want to keep repeating myself with his accolades, his awards. Drew Brees is one of the greats, in my opinion. The 4th best quarterback of all time. and he had an incredible career. Even if you dislike Drew, even if you dislike the Saints, you have to acknowledge and you have to respect how great Drew Brees was. Drew Brees was a once in a generation, maybe even once in a lifetime talent that we here were all blessed enough to watch. Drew Brees, happy trails. I I'm so sorry that you couldn't get another Super Bowl, but I am eternally grateful to be able to watch your career and watch how you've played, you know, these past 15 to 20 seasons. It's going to be weird for everyone not seeing number 9 walk out onto the Saints field. All real football fans, they shed a tear when they saw Brees take one look back to the Superdome after the Buccaneers game. But, you know, I just wanted to sit down and make this video because Drew Brees is one of the greats. And I think that everyone needs to acknowledge that. Just because he didn't have a championship, or excuse me, he had one championship. Just because he only had one doesn't mean you can't rank him with all the greats. Like I've said countless times, Brees is number 4 for me. He should be up there for you as well. Great career, one of the best athletes I've ever watched, and it's going to be very sad once he officially announces this retirement. That's going to do it for this video, guys. I know it was a little bit different. I know the mood was a little bit different, but I hope you guys were as grateful as I am to have been watching Brees over these past, 10, 15 years that I've been watching football. I hope you guys didn't take Brees' career for granted. We have a bunch of guys that are getting to this age. Brees now, we'll have Brady soon, Rodgers, Stafford. Don't take these guys for granted. These are once-in-a-generation quarterbacks that need to be acknowledged and respected for how great they are at their craft. That's going to be it for this video, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.